thank you all for being candid and sharing with your table, because like me, some of you may not know every single person in this room. So again, thank you for the bravery. So what kind of presenter would I be if I didn't get a little vulnerable with you and share a few moments of when I have faced fear of myself? So I was a student here at Ball State for 4 years, and it was 4 of the most transformational years of my life, and fun, because it's not every day you get to chug champagne and graduate on the same day. Do I have any other Cardinals in the room?
Chirp, chirp.
Yeah, chirp, chirp. Love it. Awesome. So it's really, really awesome to be back in Muncie. So I hope you will bear with me while I kind of go back in time for a second. So the summer after my freshman year, I had my heart set on being an orientation leader. And I thought this would be a really cool job, and I wanted to be, I need to stay within my range, excuse me. I wanted to be a cool orientation leader, not just your everyday orientation leader. I'm also a very big fan of Mean Girls and A.B. Poehler, so anytime I can work her into my presentations, I am here for it. And I did actually end up being a cool orientation leader. So funny story here. This is a gift I was given by one of my groups. So Ball State orientation is a 2-day thing. You spend the night, you wake up the next day for more programming, and then you go home. A group of students presented this to me, and this moment was both filled with fear and excitement. Fear, because I don't know if you can tell, but this is a bed sheet ripped in half. So immediately I was like, where the hell did this come from? Who is being held accountable for this? And so I kind of took my little baby duckling group and scooted them off to the side of closing ceremonies. And I was like, okay, what is this? I didn't want my bosses to see what was going on. And so they gave me this, and as you can see, they've got my name up there and Ball State things, and they all signed it. And back in the day, Ball State's tagline was education redefined, so they put orientation leader redefined, which was just so sweet. But I did always wonder what the custodian thought when they walked into that room and there's half a sheet missing. But getting to this point of being a cool orientation leader was not the smoothest path. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that today. When I was in high school, I worked at Subway. I was a sandwich artist, loud and proud. And when I was applying for this job after my wonderful freshman year, you know, it's my first time being away from home. I had met a lot of friends, had so many great experiences, and I thought, I want to stay here in Muncie and be an orientation leader and do that whole gig. And the only thing I had to go back home to was working at Subway. And while I can rock a visor and some shades with the best of them, I was kind of over it. And so I put all of my eggs into one basket on this job. Has anyone else ever been there where you put your whole heart into a job or maybe a promotion? Yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking to do because you're putting everything into this, and hopefully it works out. So the process of applying to be an orientation leader at Ball State is a written application, a one-on-one interview, a group interview with other students, and then a 2-on-1 interview at the end with the 2 directors. And I made it through every single step, so I was like, got this in the bag, everything's gonna be great, I have a place to live this summer, I have a place to eat because they provide both of those things for you, and I absolutely thought I had this job locked down. Well, one day while I was standing in La Follette, outside of the mailroom, do I have any La Follette people here? Nice! Oh my gosh, R.I.P. La Follette. I was standing outside of La Follette and opened my mail to receive a letter that said, "Dear Sarah, thank you so much for your interest, but we are moving forward with other candidates." I'm sure I'm not alone in receiving something like that either, right? So I was really disappointed because all I had to go back to was Subway. And not to ditch Subway, I love Subway. To this day, I still eat it, but I did not want to go back to that job. I was kind of over that, like I mentioned. So I was disappointed, and after kind of rolling around in the suck for a little while, feeling bad for myself, I was talking to my mom on the phone, and she suggested, why don't you set up a meeting with the 2 directors and see what you could have done better? If you're a freshman, it was one of your first interviews, why not? At the time, I thought this was ridiculous, because who wants to get a letter that says no, and then go talk to those people in person and ask them for more reasons why they said no? Yeah, moms are usually wise, but I was not buying it at that time. But lesson learned, always listen to your mamas. I decided to set up the interview anyways with them, and it was an informational interview, no big deal. And at this point, I had nothing to lose, right? Because I didn't get the job. So I no longer have to impress them, I could wear whatever I want, and I was just there to get some feedback. Because when one door closes, you have to knock on the next. And for me, knocking on that next door was asking them what I could have done better. And I put this up here and it's on your sheet, and I really believe in it because the more common phrase you've probably heard before is when one door closes, another one opens. I happen to believe that is wildly untrue. I don't think doors just open for people. I think doors open when you take the initiative and you get up there, find your plan B, and go make it happen for yourself. So that's where I was in this moment, looking at my next door. And it was a little scary. Like I said, who wants to walk in there and say, "Can you guys tell me what you didn't like about me? Why you chose somebody else? I really wanted this job. What am I going to do now?" So it was a moment of vulnerability for me, for sure. But I decided to feel the fear and do it anyways. So as I was talking to them, I got some much needed feedback, as you can imagine. And then they absolutely shocked me and said that they had a female leader who dropped out and they wanted me to replace her. I was absolutely shocked and accepted the job on the spot. And then later received half of a bed sheet. So it was quite a Cinderella story. But I wanted to share that story because orientation, being that part of that job, was life-changing for me because I learned that I had to do something with my life to help other people, no matter what capacity it was. Okay. So as you'll notice today, in my branding and the words I'm using up here, I keep writing fear in this beautiful font. A font so beautiful, it was $14 to download, so I appreciate the font. But I write it in this way because I think fear can be beautiful, but before we can get to that point, we often have to face what we wrote down on the right side of our paper. But you can also get to the left side. So in facing fear, just know that there can be a beautiful silver lining in there somewhere, but it is going to require you to look for that silver lining. So now that we've talked about fear, we've addressed it a little bit on our associated with fear side, I want to talk to you a little bit more about doing more of what makes you awesome. The first step to doing more of what makes you awesome is putting your happiness first. Now, I'm very aware, I'm in a group of women, all ages, all backgrounds, with kids, without kids, whatever it may be. This is probably not something that you've heard every day, is to put your happiness first. So I want to say that again, nice and slow, so you hear me loud and clear. You need to put your happiness first. Because before you figure out what makes you awesome, you need to know what makes you happy. So I'm going to share a short story of how I learned this lesson. So we're going to go, again, back to Ball State, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about this right side picture. So when I was a senior, I had two choices. Take a job or take an internship. And my initial, oh no, spoiler alert. My initial reaction was the job, of course. I wanted to make a salary, free parking in downtown Indianapolis, a 401k, health benefits, you guys know the drill. But the internship kept pulling at my heart because it was for the Finish Line Youth Foundation, which is the nonprofit arm of Finish Line. We sell sneakers and athletic apparel in the malls. And it was to be a part of the foundation, which gives back to Special Olympics and Boys and Girls Club of America. There was just one little caveat with the internship. There was no job offer at the end of it. They had openly told me from the interview, you could be the best intern we've ever had. We're just not hiring right now for this team. So that was a little disappointing to hear. If most of you don't know me, but I'm very type A, and I need to know what's happening next. And that was the unknown, as we talked about. That was one of our words. It was unknown, and I do not like to be there. But it was thanks to the friends, family, and other people I had to lean on through this fear, which is what I'm hoping you pulled today, is that now you have a group of, it looks like we've got 80 people here. You have 80 other people who are willing to talk about and to address fear with you. And that's what I had at Ball State. My community was so wonderful and so supportive. So through talking to friends, family, professors, mentors, I ended up choosing my passion over a paycheck, and I took the internship. And I'm really proud to say that I have been there for the past almost 5 years now. But again, kind of with orientation, before I got to all this excitement, it was a little bit of a rough road. So they did stick to their plan. They did not hire me after the internship was over, but when preparation meets opportunity, there's luck. And that's where I was at the end of my summer. I had spent the summer, for lack of better terms, networking my ass off. I met with anyone and everyone in that corporate office of 300 people who would talk to me about what they did to get to where they are now and any advice that they had for me. And I took a lot of notes. So when I was done with the internship, there was an opening in corporate communications, and I had people at Finish Line who had only known me for 3 months telling that woman to hire me because they had met me over the summer and they think they should give me a shot. And that's what she did. So I worked for corporate communications for 9 months, and then the Youth Foundation in June 2015 opened up a 4th position, and you bet your girl was first in line to apply for that. So I've been working for them ever since, and these are a few of my favorite pictures that I've got to do. One I want to tell you about is, has anyone ever heard of Kaboom before? Is anyone a Parks and Rec fan? So in one of the first seasons, they do a Kaboom playground build in Eagleton, and it's run by this crazy guy who doesn't seem legit, and they build a playground in 1 day. Well, that organization actually exists. Kaboom is a real thing. So I've had the opportunity of leading 200 employees for the past 3 years, and we've built 3 playgrounds in Indianapolis. So that's been one of my favorite parts. As I mentioned, I'm a huge fan of Amy Poehler, so I get to be Leslie Knope for a day, and that's my dream come true right there. So in finding this job, it was all because I put my happiness first, and I had to figure out what was going to make me more awesome. The job versus the internship, the job was to be a marketing specialist for a freight logistics company. I can barely say that without stuttering now. You can imagine how I was doing back then. So by putting my happiness first, I leaned on what I knew to figure out that I was going to be more awesome at event planning, working with Special Olympic athletes, talking to Boys and Girls Club kids, planning things for them to do outside of their normal everyday. So that's how I put my happiness first and learned what would make me more awesome. So I'm cutting it a little short on time, so we're going to move along pretty quickly here. But I want to know if anyone in the room, now that we've addressed fear and we've addressed words of overcoming fear, wants to pull one of those words that we wrote down and tell us an example of how you felt that way. So you can be from any side of the room if you want to talk about a fear word or an overcoming, but I'm looking for 2 examples, so one from each side. Okay, thank you.
So I picked unfamiliar because when I was also a Ball State graduate, I wanted to follow my heart, follow my passion, and that was museum work. But it involved moving to Washington, D.C. to take an internship at the Smithsonian. And while I was definitely proud of myself for getting that internship, it was a complete leap of faith that I could find a place to live. I would make a new network of friends and all of that. But I can tell you with confidence that it launched me to where I am today. And the network that I established at that first job is still part of my network, my mentors, and helps me every day.
Thank you so much for sharing. What was your name again? Thank you, Tanya. So that's a great example of how she rose from the right side of the page, which is where we aren't so happy, not having a lot of fun, and moved herself over to the left side. So when I made this worksheet, I put them on the same side because I've learned that fear is not a one-way street. It is very much a two-way road. Often you cannot have what's on the left without what's on the right. But now that you've got both of these words in front of you, both of these sets of words, you know that you can come from the associated with fear side and move yourself into the overcoming fear side. Because first of all, you've got an awesome support group here today. And second of all, now you've talked about fear out loud. Whether you did it a little bit at the beginning or you've been thinking through some things in your head, you've addressed fear and you've officially faced fear today, so don't forget that. Does anyone want to quickly share an overcoming fear word? Okay, awesome. I'm going to run through that for you. Excuse me. Are you ready? Hopefully the heels are comfortable.
Okay, I'm going to talk about overcoming because when I came into the business of travel, it was totally different from what I was used to. I did a lot of looking at travel for friends and family, group travel and stuff. It seems so much easier. Coming into the business, there's so many websites, so many places you need to be. And I wasn't really getting the help that I felt like I needed to get. And so I finally put my foot down. I did a lot of reading, a lot of looking on Facebook, the groups that they had put us in and stuff, and learning from that or whatever. And now today is my first member group. I've been happy. And then I have my
Thank you so much for sharing. So 2 amazing sides of this two-way street of fear. So I have 2 last exercises I want us to do. The first one is I want you to take out your phone. And I want you to turn on the camera. And I want you to put it in selfie mode. And feel free to hold it up here because nobody likes this double chin angle. So nobody's watching you because we're all looking at ourselves.
Okay.
So take out your phone, put it on selfie mode. Look at you, not looking at anybody else. Yes, this is goofy. So as you're doing this, I want to read some things to you. And while I'm reading these things to you, I want you to look at you. Really look into your own eyes. Look at your hairline, the color of your hair, whatever you want to do.
I don't want those.
This is not a time for critique, though. Let me be clear. This is not a time for critique. Don't touch your hair, don't touch your glasses. I don't care. Nobody cares. Okay, so while you are looking at you, I want you to listen to what I'm going to say, and I want you to say it in your head as I'm talking. Today, this person you see faced fear. Most of all, this person before you is not afraid of fear or failure. This person is 100% you. Life is too damn short not to cheer this person on. So put you first and love you regardless of the fear that life can bring us. Okay, you can take your phones out. Or take a selfie if you want.
I need concealer.
So I wanted to take you guys through that exercise because A, let's take advantage of the technology that we have here, and everyone's got a phone. But B, how often do you ever look at yourself in the mirror and say those things to yourself? Probably very rarely, right? As I talked about earlier, and as women, we're not really conditioned to put ourselves first. We're conditioned to put somebody else first. So next time, when you get up and you're having a crappy day or it's a rough morning, take a moment, take a break, look in the mirror, or if you're sitting in your car in the car line at your kid's school, take out your phone and cheer you on, because you deserve to have a cheerleader too. And if that has to be you, I would be damn proud if that was you. So make sure you cheer yourself on. The last thing that I wanted to touch on is that I talked about how fear is often associated with isolation. And it's not something we like to express to our spouses, to our boss, to our friends, whatever it may be. But just take a moment to look around the room today. We've introduced ourselves, we've talked about a few different things. And if you need to grab someone's number before the end of this, know that that's someone who you can talk about your fears with, who you can text with, who you can pick up the phone and call if you want. So just know that after today, because you have faced fear with me, and thank you so much for trusting me to be here with you during this, you have someone else to talk about fear with. And of course, if you're not able to grab a phone number or an email today, I've got my information up there as well. Now the final thing that I want you to do, and you can do it while we're sitting here right now, I know I need to wrap up, is I've got a little postcard for you all. And it looks like this. So I've got my contact on here. Again, I am someone happy to talk to you about your fears or what you've got going on. On the other side, this is a thank you note for you. So you need to write, "Dear," your name. And as you can see, it already says, "Thank you for facing fear," and for blank. So again, we often don't cheer ourselves on, and I almost never write myself a thank you note. That's very odd, you know? I write thank you notes all the time, but for other people.